Welcome back, my friends, to the Hippie Moms podcast. So happy to have Lida. Yes, welcome. And it's Dr. Lida,
Thank
right?
you.
Dr.
Yay.
Lida.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me back, Becky.
Oh,
It's a privilege.
it's my honor. Since we last spoke in our last podcast, you have written another book, and this is more focused on integrative conscious living and psilocybin.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you kind of walk us through like how this book came to be? And then I want to dive in to the book
Yeah.
and have these conversations specifically around psilocybin.
Awesome. Great question. The book was born not out of branding or trying to sell a bunch of books or make money. It was really a tool for self-survival after I graduated from residency and became a full-fledged licensed physician. I was suppressing all the feelings and all the things in life and acting like a robot until it all hit me, and no amount of charting could navigate me through the nervous breakdown that I was facing. And so I really had to, dig deep, and psychedelics had a big part of helping me dig deep and understand, oh, it's not just the recent events in my life. Let's say I had a divorce, which I did, and I was a single mom throughout residency, and none of that ever bothered me. And it was really it was layers and layers and layers until childhood, growing up in war in Iran for the first 8 years of my life, then being in a suppressive, oppressive regime of Iran under terrorism, growing up for 14 years under that. And I never considered any of that traumatic, or an issue ever that I would be carrying with me into adulthood until, psychedelics really helped me see that, until my breakdown and my burnout, that, I was even suicidal. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not me. And it took me a couple of years to really find my light again. And so as I was digging my way out and relearning how to walk again, it felt like I was paralyzed for years. And now, with a major psychedelic breakthrough, I was a new consciousness, new person, new frequency, and I had to find out what I felt unsteady in the world. And to find that steadiness again in myself and the groundedness in a different frequency, I started digging and seeing what in my past has helped me ground and be connected with myself. And meditation was a really big thing for me. As a 12-year-old, I was meditating, but I had forgotten about it. Yeah, I had forgotten about it. And I had meditated for many years, and it comes and goes. Life is cyclical and it's okay. We all go through it. It's just a remembering, right? And not allowing ourselves to go down that like very dark rabbit hole, which I had for many years. So digging myself out of it took me many years too. And so, but the conscious life practices came to me one by one, and I sat with it. I was like, no, of course, meditation, community, art, expression, whatever way, whether it's writing. I'd never been journaling in the past, and I started and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So little by exercise and feeling our bodies, embodying the exercise, not just being in an escaped mindset when you're on that whatever elliptical and somewhere else on a to-do list, but no, being present. Oh my gosh, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. And so then my husband and I, he's also a physician. We were both very disillusioned with medicine after we came out of residency. We went to residency together. And we really, he saw what I went through, and we sat and we went through book after book and research article after research article, finding out what it is that our physical bodies need, our brains need, our souls need to be grounded and to be integrated fully into life. So we examined about 40 different conscious life practices with a ton of research. This took years. This was not something overnight or in a month. And then we experimented with them too. It wasn't just read it, woohoo. No, what does it mean to me in my physical form? And really meeting the body's needs, because when you're meeting the physical needs, you're also meeting the soul's needs and the emotional body's needs, and it's layers. And so we experimented, we boiled it down to 20 conscious life practices that we actively do still.
Oh,
We actively do these things almost every day. So, my husband goes like 120 days in a row with his meditation, 20 minutes a day at least, all do the same thing. And there's no competition. We're just like, no, this feels good. And when I don't do it, I'm just not a fun human being to be around. I'm frustrated. I'm yelling at the kids and I'm like, then I'm in a puddle of guilt. Like, I don't like this. So no, let's get back into it. What is it? What are all these things? And I literally, Becky, go in my check boxes of the conscious life practices. What have I done in the past week? What have I not done in a few days? And then I'm like, oh, these are the three things. Okay. Right now, I'm just going to carve out the time and that sacred container for myself to sit in silence or to take a nap, because taking a nap is sacred and burnout is not heroic.
no.
And then on top of that, cherry on top was psilocybin as a tool, as not the end all be all of, I've had experiences and, I'm some enlightened person, or that's it, evolution is done and my growth is over. No, that's just the beginning, you guys.
I know, right? Well, before we dive into psilocybin, because I really want to spend some time there, I want to kind of dig in a little bit more to these conscious life practices that you're speaking of. And let's say you have 20 that you do every day, but can we kind of break it down? Like, what are maybe the top 5 that you have? Obviously, you're experiencing them, you're integrating them, you're seeing how they impact you, and then you're helping other people as well integrate them and teaching that. So what are some of the things you said? Meditation. Is that one, or are there other few what are some things that are just like, this is what I'm going to do for myself every single day?
Yes, great question. So, yes to meditation. And if that word, deters you a little bit and you think, oh, I've done it before, I've heard it all. I've
Yeah.
done it before, I did it for years, it's not for me. It's for all of us, you guys. Like the changes in the neurochemistry that we see and in our brain waves going from high beta, which is chaotic brain waves of like, fight or flight,
Mhm.
to alpha waves 10, 15 minutes into meditation, or deeper waves that we see where creativity happens.
Mm.
Prefrontal cortex is lit up, where empathy comes about. This is universally good for humans.
Yeah.
So if you feel any resistance to it, even when we say meditation, know that that's something you need in this moment.
Mm.
If you don't even want to use the word meditation, stillness.
I love that. I love that.
Sit still for 5 minutes.
Just start there.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's not, we say start, but I also find that advanced practitioners throughout the day, they even do the same thing where they feel emotions come up, and instead of running away from it, distracting,
Mhm.
take it as a flag to just sit still for 5 minutes
I love that.
and see what happens.
Mm.
And this is a path of self-discovery. Each of the conscious life practices is about us looking at ourselves from a different angle. So, and exploring ourselves. So I would say stillness is the top one. With that also goes conscious breathing. Just note that you're breathing. It took me years to actually realize, oh, I'm breathing.
It's so simple, but it's so profound. Yes, I agree so much based on my own experience.
Right, right. And then incorporating breathing into your day. So when you're gonna sit still, tap into your breath. Just note it. It's with you all the time. You can connect with it at any moment throughout the day or at night. I have a lot of clients who have insomnia because of the past trauma or this and that, and they're just carrying that in their bodies, in their psyche, in their minds, in their memories. And one of the main tools that we use that's very profound and very effective is the breath, Just breathe. And, for the audience or for the listeners, we have 2 parts of the nervous system. The overarching one is the autonomic nervous system. Under that, for simplicity, there's a sympathetic side of the nervous system. That's the fight or flight or freeze response that we talk about. And then the other side, it's rest and digest and heal. Now, if any of us are either all the way in the arm of the fight or flight all the time, we're overwhelmed, we're super stressed out, the shoulders are tight, every jaw is clenched, and we all do it, right? And it happens, and it comes and goes for all of us. So I want you to know that's dynamic once you recognize that you're actually carrying all of this with you. And then you're always feeling rushed. You're rushing the people around you. You're frustrated all the time. And then the parasympathetic side, if that's way overactive, then you're sleeping all the time. Then you're depressed and you just don't have that vital energy feeling. So the key here is to understand that it's a nervous system recalibration that we look at, and the conscious life practices help us get there. Meditation, breath work, sitting still. It calms down the fight or flight. It brings you more in the center, in that equilibrium, so you can tap into the rest and digest. And also the, okay, now I have to perform, let's go. But not in a forceful way, in a vital energy way of like, ooh, I gotta get up and do this. Great.
Yes.
So those are the two that are huge. The third one I would say is creative writing. You may call it journaling, you may call it all those things. I like creative writing because creativity is a central part of the human experience.
I love that.
And and if you don't feel creative when you're writing, it's okay. Just start putting things down on the page. And, a lot of my clients, they have this sense of perfectionism. Oh, if my sentence isn't the right grammar, or if I'm not using the right word, or if I'm not spelling right, they judge themselves. Well, that tells me a ton about what's happening in that inner world. And I'm happy that they're sharing this with me, and we talk about it. We actually use this as a coaching topic. I'm like, what are the barriers for you to write? And they share with me, they're like, well, this and that, or they don't want somebody else to read it.
Yeah.
Fine. Take those pages and burn them, shred them, let them go. The act of writing, there is so much processing that happens in our brains on the daily, especially as females, because we think in networks, because we're community builders. That's just the feminine energy. We are collective bringer together, energy. And in doing that, our brains are working in a million different directions at all times, especially as females. Writing this down and processing what's up here cognitively in our thoughts, there's a ton of processing that happens on the pages, and then you take a sigh of relief. You feel so light afterwards. And I have elder women, she taught me this locally. She said, I do my journaling, and then if I said something nasty about my husband there, then I take a marker or my little paintbrush and I just paint a heart over it, or do some whatever. And I'm just like, yes, thank you so much for that. And sure enough, it works, and we need this. So making that a daily practice. And for starters, I tell people, write just a word. Maybe it's your intention for your day in the morning. After you sit still 4 or 5 minutes, write down an intention. Or maybe it's a list of things that you want to do for yourself, for your family, for work. Just 3 things. And that gets you started. And then I have people who sit and then they write page after page after page after page. And you need that. We all need that sometimes. And if you get into a habit of it, it just becomes easier. Sometimes I just sit there and doodle, and that's really helpful too for that creative expression. The other one, the fourth one I would say that I also get a ton of positive feedback is hydration with the proper electrolytes in it.
Okay.
So I'm not talking about like a Powerade or a Gatorade, just because there's a lot of stuff in there. I know. I'm so glad I'm talking to you and your team, because I know.
Yes.
I'm talking about getting a ounce glass of water, putting a pinch, just a pinch of pink Himalayan salt in there because it's got 58 minerals and electrolytes in it that our bodies need from nature. Like, I don't need to be making this stuff up. It's already here. Just drop it in, pour the water over it. And then after, take a lemon, cut it in half, and squeeze a few drops or more into the water. The reason for that is that the lemon, when you squeeze the lemon peel, it expresses limonene, which is a wonderful terpene, and it interacts with your endocannabinoid system. It's a stress reliever. So you start your day like that in the morning.
Love
And
it.
then the little bit of sugar in there helps the kidneys and the intestines absorb a ton more water. So
Oh,
this is huge, you guys.
wow. You just blew my mind right there. Okay, let's talk about that.
Let's get into it because it's a big one. I didn't know this either, like until a few years ago when I was researching all this with my husband. So the body only absorbs about 20% of the water that we drink.
Oh, wow.
That's filtered water. Okay. When you add what I just told you, the pink Himalayan salt, a few drops of fresh squeezed lemon, you now increased your absorption to 70%. So
Wow.
instead of drinking, 10 glasses of water a day without electrolytes, you can just drink 5 and get even more hydration into your circulatory system than before. And hydration is a huge deal because of the toxins that we accumulate naturally, as we should, right? And unnaturally too. Humanity has created a lot of toxins in the air and the food and everything, and we're ingesting all of that too. So we need to flush that out, not only through our kidneys and intestines, but also the brain. The brain, when dehydrated, what we see in studies is that we feel anxious if we are not hydrated enough. So I was teaching this, through my certification course, using the book actually, a group of therapists. And one of them, after we had implemented hydration, she comes back and she's like, I was asking which of the conscious life practices has been really good for you. She was like, I have fibromyalgia, and one of my main treatments is to get out there and work out. And I just have had such a hard time doing this until I started hydrating. So as soon as she started hydrating, she was telling us how she was like, it changed my life. I have so much more energy and I have that vital force in me to go out there and to get the workout in. And of course, she was doing other conscious life practices too. So it's most likely a cumulative effect that she was feeling. It wasn't just one thing.
Right.
But that's the one that tipped it over for her. And so, yeah, those 4, I would say, are huge, huge, huge. And the 5th one,
Wait, I have a real quick question on the fourth. You said, so salt, a little bit of lemon, and then you said a little sugar.
The sugar is in the lemon
Oh,
juice.
the sugar's in the lemon. Okay, so you don't need to add any sugar.
You don't need to add any sugar.
That's exactly how I start my day, Lida, is a 32-ounce glass of sea salt with lemon juice and squeezed lemon every morning for years. That's what I do. It's amazing. Check. Okay, what's next? Let's go, girl.
But that's where you can be here and you can be present and bring your light to the world because you're optimizing yourself and you're doing it. It's not just like thinking about it or learning about it, you're doing it.
Doing it. Yes. And then it becomes a habit. After a while, it just becomes like I crave it. I wake up, it's just like, oh, so I love it. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, so what's the 5th one?
The 5th one, which is just something that we really need to remember and tap into big time, especially right now, is heartfelt connections with our community.
That's good.
That is top because everything that we're doing, in even conscious physician method, when we're utilizing it, it's about exploring ourselves, getting through our traumas, learning from them, evolving through it, and connecting to our light so that we can elevate our community.
Yes.
It's the service you are giving right now to your listeners, and you have been for so many years. But if we're not balanced, if we're not centered, if we're not, then we're also leading from a really weird place, right? From a tilted place.
For sure.
And so the more we are in the space of, yeah, the storms can come and go in immediate life, in health, in finance, politically, all those things come and go. And
Yeah.
to remember that too, change is happening all the time.
Mm.
Nothing stays forever. Let's be real. Happiness, joy, excitement, sadness, all of it comes and it goes. The storms come and go. So
Mm.
reminding ourselves of that, and then choosing and remembering that we have the responsibility and the sovereignty to choose what we're
Mm.
going to do. Are we going to drink that water today because it serves us,
Mm.
serves the sacred creation that we are? Each one of
Yeah.
us is a sacred creation, to remembering that we are that, and that
Mm.
we make a promise to ourselves to care for ourselves
Mhm.
at the highest level with the most love and gentleness.
Yes.
And when we do that and we love ourselves, and you say, I love Becky and I would take her out to a drink, then
Yes.
you will see that your interactions with your loved ones is different. Your
Yes.
interactions with the rest of your community and friends comes from a much more loving and deep place, because
Mm.
you feel good in you. That just spills out. You don't even have to do anything about it. It's
Mm.
just informs those deep connections.
Mm.
And that's everything.
Yeah. It really, I love how you really moved us into that when we care, love for ourselves and really integrity and like a gentle, compassionate way. It's not about being perfect or doing it all right, but it's really like it's making ourselves a priority. And when we can fill ourselves up, then we get to spill onto others, and we get to do what we love to do as mothers. We love to nurture and care for our people. But when we come from that discord or that tilted place, it is weird. It doesn't feel good. We're frustrated. We're irritated instead of really centering ourselves and caring for ourselves so we can bring our gifts to the world and to our community. Yeah, that just feels so good.
Yes, yes. And reminding ourselves, I started using this mantra and really feeling, and not just saying it, but really feeling and embodying it, that I'm good.
Yeah, wow. So simple.
Simple. And it's like, ooh, that changed my world. I was like,
Mhm.
what? Because, funny enough, you look back, and I lived in a very loving family, very loving, very safe. And this is one of the reasons I never thought the war or living under a terrorist regime had any effects on me, because my immediate family was safe, secure, loving, all the things. But when I was seeing myself be frustrated, or like, it wasn't a frustration on the children, on my kids, or even on anybody outward. It was frustration with myself. I really dug deep. I was like, oh my gosh. And then it was about, the messaging as a child from a big picture society and
Mhm.
culture was that you're bad, you're sinning. Your hair is sinful, your body is sinful, so you have to cover it. Your words are sinful, so you cannot speak. You're censored constantly. Oh, yeah. As a
Oh,
6-year-old girl, I had to cover up. We all had to, the scarf, whatever. And you ask, why do I have to cover myself, right? And they're like, well, because the government says that with your hair showing, men get attracted to you and it's your fault. As a 6-year-old, for God's sake, like, what?
wow.
So that I'm good message is completely 180 degrees from that societal message that was given
Mm.
constantly. And living in Iran was an extreme, and the example I'm giving you is an extreme, but most of us have this.
Yeah,
Almost everybody feels bad about themselves in some shape or form, even if we're not consciously
totally.
feeling bad about ourselves. And so sit with that in stillness and really feel that you're good, and
Mm.
see that you're good, like the work that you're doing, not even the work, just being you.
Right. There's nothing more you need to do to be good. Like you are that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. That's so
absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, Lida. Okay, wow. I love that. That was so beautiful and I think so grounding for so many people. And I love how we'll just kind of recap 5 minutes of stillness a day, 5 minutes of stillness, noticing your breath, right? Hydrating your body. And what did I miss? What did I miss?
Writing, creative
Right,
writing.
creative ready. Yes, I love that one. I think that is so great. I think exactly what you said. It helps us process. It helps us just kind of get what's in here out so that it's almost emptying. It's like a process of emptying ourselves. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Hydration, boom, check. And connecting, yeah, connecting to ourselves and our community. I mean, that could be life changing. You just do one of those for 7 days. Just pick one, and then check, then make more space for another. I love it. Now I would love to dive in to psilocybin and your experience with that. And I would love to speak as if you were speaking to someone who has no idea what it is, because I do believe we will have listeners that they may have heard it. Some people may have had experiences of it, like more party experiences like I did in college, maybe more ceremonial experiences. I've had one of each. But really, if you can kind of walk us through what it is, maybe some research behind it, and how you use it in your practice.
I love it. I love it. Yes, absolutely. So, psilocybin is a psychoactive ingredient in over 200 different species of mushrooms that has been found all over the world. So, it's not unique to one indigenous population or the other. It's been around for millennia, for millions of years. Before humans were on Earth, mushrooms existed. And the postulation, in fact, is that we developed language and bigger brains with the use of psilocybin containing mushrooms. So for the scientific minds, it's a tryptamine, it's a particular chemical, it's a naturally occurring substance. Now we're also finding that in these mushrooms, it's not just psilocybin, there's other compounds in there that also help the effects of psilocybin. So let me talk a little bit about the history, because I think for hippie moms, I think it's a really important thing for us to know the role of females in bringing healing to the community using psilocybin and also other psychedelic drinks. So this we know, back in the Zoroastrian times in Iran, this is like 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, they were using psychedelic medicines, maybe beta carbolins, maybe psilocybin. And you do see that in Iranian architecture, mostly by women, And though the history there is not 100% research-wise, what we do know that's very clear is the Eleusinian mystery rites in Greece, the Demeter and Persephone reunion of the mother and daughter that they held every 3 years for 2,000 years. And these were underground community healing psychedelic events that were held by women in high positions in the government. And then they would teach the younger women how to hold space, how to prepare these concoctions. And in those, psilocybin was present as well as other psychedelics. If you're interested in knowing more about that, the Immortality Key is a really great book. And with the rise of Christianity, what happened was a lot of these women got taken off of those positions and suppressed. A lot of them were burned at the stake as witches. So that's where that history comes in, the whole, And then in the more recent years, in the 1940s and 50s, we have a very important figure that we got to talk about is Maria Sabina.
Okay.
She was in Oaxaca, Mexico, and she was known as a healer, shaman, elder woman that would hold specifically psilocybin ceremonies for healing of the people in the village. And we also know there were many others in Mexico from the Mazatec tradition, from the Mayan tradition. We just don't know their names. But Maria Sabina has become that symbol of, remembrance. And she was just this beautiful lady. You gotta look her up. She's just, you just see a picture of her and you just want to hug her and kiss her. And, she talks about healing ourselves with nature, with the beautiful sun and the waterfall. And she is the reason why today we're talking about psilocybin. She brought it to the Western world with her connection with the vice president of JP Morgan at the time in 1950s, Gordon Wasson, and his wife Pavlovna, who was a pediatrician from Russia. She knew about mycology and about mushrooms, and the husband, who was white and American, did not know about anything, any mycology. And then they started, getting interested. They go to Mexico. They sit with Maria Sabina. She has a session with them, and so on and so forth. She needs to be remembered. So moving forward to the 1970s, unfortunately, psilocybin became illegal with the Controlled Substance Act of 1970. And now we are in the space that we're looking at, a few states now legalizing, including New Mexico, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So Oregon has been legalized and decriminalized. Colorado did the same. Certain cities in California and across the nation have decriminalized. And New Mexico's governor just signed the bill last month for the Medical Psilocybin Act, SB 219, to go through. It will not take effect for another 18 months or so, but we should know about it. We should know how to use it. We should know how it works, all those things. So with the Medical Psilocybin Act as well, just for some clarity, it is used for therapeutic use by licensed practitioners who are certified through the state. So it's not that it's going to be in dispensaries. That is not the vision for this. Because psilocybin at high doses begs for you to have a guide with you.
Absolutely.
And so for your listeners, let's talk about dosages.
Okay. I love it.
Okay. Awesome. So we're talking about lower doses, which we usually called micro dosing, because it's micro. It's a micro amount of the, macro dose, which is in grams.
Yeah.
Microdose is in milligrams. We're talking about 5 milligrams all the way to about 250 milligrams. That's a microdose.
Okay.
That's a big range, but every individual is also different.
Okay.
And each mushroom is a little different. So, a 10 milligram or 20 milligram of it, this type of mushroom may have a different potency, different effect for you than it would have for me. I may need less or I may need more to feel the effect. So this is a very personalized path that also begs experimentation. Okay. With microdosing, what you would do, one of the regimens is taking it every third day in conjunction with your conscious life practices. Otherwise, it just doesn't work that well. Research is 50-50 about it. The people who do the work and microdose, they see results and they're like, oh, my life is amazing now. And they examine themselves. There's self-reflection. There is stillness. There is hydration. They're caring for their needs. They're seeing the sacred. And the ones that aren't doing the work, they're just popping it to just see colors or things get a little bit brighter. Then they're just not seeing as much of an effectiveness.
Okay.
On a microdose, you may feel a lightness in your body. That's what I hear from, my clients and also myself. I also microdose. Not all the time. I might do it like once a month, once every 2 weeks, here and there, depending on what's going on. But if I feel overwhelmed, that's a good reset to have. And so a lot of people who carry a lot of anxiety from their past trauma or whatnot, once they use a microdose, let's say 100 milligrams, they just feel this lightness and the anxiety is gone and they can be present. They're not high, out somewhere. They're very present. You're like, oh my gosh, I see the colors so much more clearly. I'm connecting with my kids in a heartful way, not from a frustrated, overwhelmed place of the to-do list, but just laying around with my kid and reading a book and just cuddling, with some stuffies or squishmallows, so amazing. Or going outside and laying out in the sun, that you haven't done in months. Those are the types of things that come through and you're like, oh, and you got to listen to those whispers because the medicine is talking to you. You just have to tune in, get all the distractions away, put the phone away, put the technology away. Get into nature, get into your home and just be and observe yourself and that inner experience. And the guide is telling you, speaking to you. Listen to it. You may feel like you want to nap. So nap. You may want to go outside, water some plants. Go water some plants.
Yeah,
Simple.
I love that.
Any questions there?
Well, so with the psilocybin, what is it, I guess, what has it been proven to actually do for us on a mental, what do studies show that it actually does for our experience or our mental clarity, things like that? Like, why would someone want to maybe look at psilocybin?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So at different doses, psilocybin does different things,
Okay.
serves different purposes. So with the microdose, it's that, maybe a calmness and a presence
Yes.
comes about.
Love that.
Maybe more creativity comes
Mhm.
about for the individual. But it's a sub-perceptive dose, okay? Psilocybin at the brain level works on serotonin receptors.
Hmm.
Serotonin is known to be the happy molecule in the brain. Okay. And so, we have these, I think it's more postulations. I don't think it's even based in real psychiatric research that depression and serotonin are, related. I think that was a whole pharmacological thing that they were trying to
Yes.
create SSRIs and feed it to you and make a lot of money. So,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Right. But we do know from psilocybin specifically, it sits on serotonin receptors, so it modulates those. That's maybe why it makes us a little bit happier, a little bit less anxious.
Yeah.
Do we absolutely know exactly what happens? No. But what we do know, studies have looked at populations of people with particular diagnoses, okay? And usually we've looked at the research with high doses, what we call macro dosing, okay? Macro dosing, now we're going to zoom into that, okay?
Okay. Love it. Let's do it.
Macrodosing is about 2 grams to 5 grams, let's
Okay.
say, and up. I don't recommend up. 2
Okay.
to
That seems
5
like a
grams
lot.
is a lot.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
So, yeah. And for that, you need a guide present with you.
Yeah.
Just do. People have done it and continue to do it on their own, but you can become more traumatized from what you see, feel, hear, whatever, or the experience of it. You
Yeah.
come out more traumatized than before. So I don't suggest it.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't suggest it. I suggest that people do have a facilitator or a guide or a dear friend who's experienced highly in
Mm-hmm.
this realm with them during the experience. Now, it's not just about the macrodose. It's also what we're doing before we go into ceremony. So if somebody has PTSD, for example, we've studied people with PTSD, with OCD, with major depressive disorder, with anxiety disorders, addictions. So, we'll just stop there with those diagnoses. These are the people with these diagnoses who've been studied in big research and end of life anxiety,
Okay.
existential anxiety. Big major institutions like Hopkins, Yale, NYU, Imperial College of London, and on and on and on. They not only have studied psilocybin in these different diagnoses, but continue to
Mm-hmm.
study. And millions of dollars are being poured into this research. What the model has been that has shown great results is this. You have spiritual support beforehand. You implement life practices beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You unravel and unearth what it is that's causing your PTSD and your anxiety and major depression and OCD and existential anxiety. You look at all of that. You write about it. You talk to a licensed professional, a therapist, a spiritual counselor about it, and you bring all of this out. You examine yourself for a good while. These studies showed, I believe, 8 weeks, so 2 months
Wow.
of
Wow.
heavy duty work beforehand.
Okay.
So when you get to the experience, you've actually dealt with most stuff, which
I
is
see.
awesome.
Okay.
And then the experience itself is like the cherry on top. And you're not afraid to go deep. You're not afraid because you've already examined a ton of it. Now, will it show you layers that you didn't know, maybe patterns that you've been carrying from parents or society or culture that you just didn't know about. But it's not scary. It's more of a mystical experience now. And then you have guide that sits with you throughout the 6 hours that it takes 6 hours. And then you have another 2 months of heavy duty therapy, spiritual counseling, contemplative practices,
Mm.
and with my work, I do pre-work, post-work, and during. So it's the whole
The whole thing.
package. It's not easy. It's very energy consuming, time consuming for the practitioner and also for the individual.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
worth it. It's worth
Yeah.
it. It changes your life. People become themselves after decades of not. You
Wow. That's
uh,
beautiful.
yeah. So ask me more questions. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, no, well, first, wow, thank you. I think that really helps us understand what the kind of the medicine, the true medicine that psilocybin brings us, and that there are two real ways to do it. And I really feel like the microdosing is something that can be a little bit more accessible by most people. But even in that, do you recommend working with a practitioner? I mean, is there a certain way to dose? I mean, is there like programs that people can do that? Because I agree. I've microdosed before and kind of done like a whole like protocol and felt the same way. Felt more present, felt more calm in my body, felt a little more creative. Just didn't feel that the pressure of life, that constant like undercurrent of pressure, which was so beautiful. And I think it helped me in a lot of ways. Now, I've never done macrodose before. I've never done anything like that. So, if someone is going through trauma or PTSD and things like that, do you recommend the macrodose or do they microdose too? Is it kind of both?
Both.
Okay.
I
Okay.
would say both is the best because what I see in my practice is that when you start the microdosing first, we don't even microdose. First, we implement conscious life
Right.
practices.
I love that.
And through that, it's so powerful because a lot comes up that
Yeah.
we process together. And
Hmm.
having a caring individual, a practitioner who cares and
Yeah.
has softness and has heart
Everything.
and will hold that space for you, regardless of if you're using medicine or not, and will give you generous listening and
Hmm.
presence. That's everything. That's healing. That's healing.
Yeah.
We actually see in people's brains the limbic system, which is the part of the brain that's the stressed out part of the brain. It calms down when you are with a practitioner who's loving and who is also firm when they need to be. So you don't want somebody who's enabling you, right?
Right.
You want
Right.
someone who's real and who's soft, but also
Sure.
and firm. Like,
Mhm.
hey, this is all yes, and
Yeah.
let's learn and let's move on.
Yeah.
And so, do I recommend having some to work with somebody to figure out doses and things like that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I would. Finding that, figuring out what type of medicine. So there's tinctures. I use tinctures in my program. I use capsules.
Okay.
Some people like the tincture more. Some people like the capsule more. Some people like a tiny little dose and it gets them there. Some
Hmm.
people need a higher dose, like more towards the 250
Okay.
milligrams. Some people, after having worked with them for months, they will tell me, now they already maybe take, half a gram or a
Oh,
gram, which is more in the moderate range,
okay. Yeah.
but they need that for a reset. This is for, I have someone who has MS and he also used to get severe migraines every single day of his life for 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Devastating. He was a judge, was about to file for disability, and he was like, I just can't live anymore. I can't do this. And I started working together. It took, a good 2 months to get him to be, his headache went to 2 instead of a 10 every day. He could actually he was crying. His family was just they went and traveled because he couldn't ride a car anymore. I mean, it's incredible, but the individual also has to be committed to
Yeah.
wanting,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you want. Maybe it's just you want to live well. Maybe you don't have PTSD. Maybe
Yeah.
you are well and you consider that I'm good right now. But we all have things that we're all looking to get a little better and feel good within ourselves, or even if you are in a very good place, to stay there. And so
Hmm.
this is with guidance, it can be so helpful to either stay at, the delicious place that you may be at, or maybe
Yeah.
that delicious place is actually very stagnant.
Yes. I could see that too. Yes.
right? You
Yeah.
get used to it. You're like, no, this is my comfort zone. And I'm just like limiting myself here and there, but I'm not seeing it, you
Mm,
know? And then
yeah.
with using medicine, then you're like, oh, okay, now I see.
I think that's what's so beautiful with psilocybin and what I'm really getting and from my own experience is that it gives you a new perspective and a higher perspective, and it's just such a beautiful way to be able to look within yourself, and what I think is so profound. And Lida, this is what I think is so important for all plant medicines. I've done all sorts of different ceremonies and different medicines. The one thing that I always see that is missing is these conscious life practices. People go looking to be fixed, looking to solve their problem, and they might have an incredible experience. But if you're not integrating and you're not doing the most simple, most profound conscious life practices day to day, it doesn't matter. Not going to integrate. You're going to so easily go back to the same cycles and the same patterns because you're not making those baby steps every day to propel yourself forward. So I think what you bringing these conscious life practices with psilocybin is so incredible.
Thank you. What
Yeah.
you just shared is everything.
Right. Well, I mean, you're embodying it. I'm just saying what I'm seeing here because it is so true. Is that what you see too?
110%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing awareness to that because I've been in the psychedelic world for over a decade myself and then holding space for others for the past 5 years. And I'm being invited to do speaking events at psychedelic conventions and conferences. In fact, I'm going to Austin this evening, give a talk to a group of facilitators who have been in this realm for some time. So I'm very honored to do this and
Awesome.
to, share what I know and I also learn from them. But what I have seen is exactly what you just shared, that people go in wanting a quick fix and
Yeah.
wanting, and then they get so focused on like, whoa, I saw spirits and I saw this and that. Okay, great. But how is your life here on earth?
Yes.
Are you taking more firm steps? Or
Mm-hmm.
how's your connection with your kids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's the self-sabotage going?
Yes.
How are those limitations that you've been putting on yourself? Have you been able to lift them? And the
Mm,
only way to do it is with practice, not with just one experience. Now, let's also give it this, that yes, some of those experiences that are mystical, there's certain things that switches, that perspective that
for sure.
switches,
Yes.
this healing that happens
Yes.
immediately from that.
Yes.
Yes, but it's not in all realms of life.
Right. Yes.
It
Yes.
may be that, yes, I saw the trauma and it no longer has a hold on me, which
Mm,
is pretty magnificent, right?
amazing.
Pretty magnificent because that translates into all of the rest of life. But what are you doing at home? Are you subjecting yourself again to a work environment that's abusive to you?
Mhm.
Because trauma also affects our self-esteem
Mhm.
adversely.
Yeah.
And when we are low self-esteem at any point in life, and most people carry that into adulthood and their entire life, then they subject themselves to things that are not, they're worthy of much higher. They
Yeah.
deserve much higher.
Yeah.
No? But these practices, you're absolutely right on. You get into these practices beforehand, hardcore, and you make these habits. You
Mm,
create those neural pathways with microdosing, and then you go through the macrodose ceremony, you gain insight, and you have downloads and all the things. Then you come out. Do not forget to get deep again with those habits. Don't
mhm.
feel like, oh, everything's fixed. No, 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 no. This is another big part of the journey that's a start of something new, too.
Yes.
With going back to your conscious life practices, that's when you got legs on the ground and you feel the earth under your feet and
Mm,
the earth holding you up and providing us this amazing, beautiful, miraculous life and a playground to experience it all, but to
yes.
be connected.
Yes. Yes. I love that so much. I'm curious because in my experiences with psychedelics, I think one of the most profound kind of underlying in every experience for lack of better words, is the deep understanding that we are beyond death. Like death is actually an illusion and that we are more than this body. I think that like those big experiences for most people, at least the people that I've talked to, it's like a knowing. You know this is not it, that there's something more. Just that knowing that we don't just die and that's it. Does that make sense? Because fear is in us. And I think people that just think like, what's the point? Or, and just have that constantly running through their lives, I think it impacts us negatively. But when we have these big experiences and we see beyond the veil, like you said, like spirits and things like that, it really does, it does something to us. Do you see that with your people? Like yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And also experiencing that, I've experienced it myself too, what you say
Yeah.
is that there's a stillness and your consciousness, you're conscious for sure. It's not
Yeah.
like this, it may be, there's no color, but you're conscious of it.
Yes.
But there's no body, there's no physicality.
Right.
You're just consciousness.
Yes.
And you just know there is everything and everyone is connected to that,
Yes. Yes.
right? And there's a universal energy that you feel
Mm-hmm.
throughout. Like it's not even just humanity. You feel the universe. You're like, oh, here it is in this point,
It's like the oneness. You feel oneness. Because everyone says we are one, but I mean, to actually know what that means and to experience it, it's two different things to actually, to know it. And then it just somehow just takes the pressure off. I can't explain it. It's just, there's just a knowing that you're so loved, you're so taken care of, and you're so much more beyond this, what we see and what we perceive. And there's just something so spiritually beautiful about it. And I wish that knowing for all humans, And at the same time, you don't just go and do a big medicine journey to be fixed, or like you really have, like, it's about what we're doing here. We're in the human body. We're having relationships. We're co-creating, we're creating. And so it's not about being fixed, but it's about how can we really use this medicine to integrate into our lives, as well as these conscious life practices, which is so important.
Absolutely. I could not have said it better. Right?
Could have.
No, I don't know.
I'm like, did that even make sense? It made sense to me.
Made complete sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes.
So will you show us your book? Let's take a look at your book.
Yes.
I love it. Conscious Physician Method, Conscious Life Practices, and Psilocybin.
Yes. Can you actually see it, or is it for you the other side?
I can see it.
You can see it straight on, because when I'm looking at my camera, I see it's the other.
Oh, no, it looks good. Looks good from here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's not backwards. I'm going to make sure I put the link to your book, Lida. And this is really, and so you talk a lot about the conscious life practices and psilocybin, right? That's the two major aspects of your book.
That's it. So half of the book, I honestly think it's a little bit more than half of the book that's about conscious life practices. And let me give you a little into the book, like a tour of the book. When I wrote it in just like the, usual format, it came out to be 100 pages. But with the formatting with the publisher, then became 300 pages.
Okay.
But it's actually a simple book.
Oh.
It's a simple book. It is written towards the physician and the practitioners, but it's for everyone. It's written so that everyone can utilize this. This is for physicians to learn for themselves, because we really need a girlfriend, let me tell you.
I bet.
And so that they can teach their patients about it. And again, some of my physician clients, they buy it to give it to their patients in the clinic. So the first part is just intro about my story and, where I'm from and all those things and how I came about this path. Then we go into conscious life practices, each one of them. For example, the meditation that we just talked about. There's just one page where it's bulleted for education, the research behind meditation. What does it do in our brains? It actually increases serotonin, increases growth hormones. So as you're sitting meditating, your muscles are getting bigger. Your fat is burning. Come on, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. So that's all in the book, because it's all research and scientific based. The first part of it. So first page. Second page is prescription. how do I implement this into my life without confusion? How do I
Yeah.
start it? And then I can take off and get deep with it. But this is a good start, pretty solid. I go back to this book myself. I'm like, I forgot about this. I need to go
I
back.
love it.
So each conscious life practice, which is 20 of them, each one has like 2 or 3 pages to it.
Okay.
And you can utilize the book as also a workbook. You can write in it. In fact, that's one of the number one categories that I had. It became a best-selling book on Amazon when it was released,
That's
which I'm
amazing.
so
Yay.
honored.
Go,
So
girl.
honored.
It's
Thank you.
awesome.
And then I go into also stories of clients because I think that they're so powerful and they gave me permission. Each client's story has been consented to be shared in the book because they're very profound and they give us different perspectives. And then second half of the book is about psilocybin. It's about the science behind it, this research behind it. And then also, how do we implement it into our life if we choose to? And how do we source it? How do we find a good guide who we trust?
That's
How do
good.
I connect with my inner guidance to really know that I trust myself to trust somebody else, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
then a very deep story about a client who's just so beautiful. Anyways, if you're interested, read about it, his transformation through the using the medicine, microdosing, and also the macrodose stories that I've had with him. They're just phenomenal. And then at the very end of the book, for the scientific minded, I have very boring abstracts that you don't need to read, but
Yeah.
it's there if you want to go through it and be like, oh, okay, so this is where it's coming from. I'm all about getting to the source of things.
Yeah.
Don't just believe me. Here's
Yeah.
the research behind it from these very reputable sources. And this
Yeah.
is how they did this study. You can look it up on PubMed even. So, uh,
Yeah.
to make it robust so that, this is just, anyways, yeah, there's evidence behind all of it.
I love that. And some people really need that, Lida. Some people really need that. They need the evidence. And you know what? More power to you. Lida has it for you. So thank you
Got
so much.
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. I love it. I just feel this information is so helpful. I feel that you've really brought information and maybe a new way of seeing this medicine. And you never know how that's going to ripple effect into people's lives. So I'm so grateful that we connected, that we are connected, and that you are a guest here because I adore you. I love what you're doing. And this was just so fun too. So thank you.
Thank you. And I adore you.
Aw.
You're awesome. And thank you for stepping into your purpose.
Oh, it's my honor. It's so fun. It's so fun because I get to have these types of conversations. I get to learn too. So I'm going to make sure I have the book link so people can go right away and find it. And I'll also make sure if there's any way people want to contact you, especially for our local people in New Mexico, because we are in Albuquerque. And if you want to get in touch with Lida, I'll make sure they can either go through me or we can talk about that. There'll be a way to support them there.
Great. And my website is drdrlidafatemi.com. I'll share that with you as well. If you want to contact me, there's a contact form there. You can also buy the book there. And I would love it if you bought the book there because not only can I sign it, but it actually keeps some of the money. Whereas on Amazon, they take like 2/3 of the money, which
Oh,
is like, I'm like, I've put so much money into this and
yeah.
2 years of writing, 10
Yeah.
years of experience, and then
Yeah.
they take it all. And you're
I know.
like, no. So
That's
I really
Amazon for
appreciate
you.
it.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I'll put your website on there too.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
everyone. Thank you, Lida. Thank you, Dr. Lida. And thank you, my friends. We'll catch you in the next Hippie Moms podcast. Bye.